Welcome to the cold, hard truth on sports. I apologize in advance if I am out of line here.
Brace yourselves, boys. We're going in.
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you are doing?
I can't believe you.
I'm not reading. I'm just looking at the picture.
Welcome to the cold, hard truth on sports.
Welcome, everyone, to another great week here of the Cold Hard Truth on Sports. I am back. Took a couple weeks off, enjoying my new baby. I have a new baby girl, so taking some time to enjoy them. Work on some of my other businesses as well. It has been wonderful, and I am refreshed. But it is time to get back. I've been missing it. Tonight we have, actually starting now, we have a game of the NBA Conference Finals. I will talk about the NBA Conference Finals up to this point. I know it's always important that I come back and I'm having shows for the Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. Those are important to me. And then on top of that, we had the draft lottery tonight. So I will go over all picks, who won the draft lottery jackpot, and more. Plus, Derek Helling, the CHT on sports.com business and law contributor, will join us tonight to tell us about how sports and gambling just got a little bit closer. They're a little bit more friendly today than they were a couple days ago, at least in the eyes of the highest court in the land. So he'll join us here 15, 20 minutes or so, I believe. Is that right? Did I get that right? Okay. Yeah, like 15, 20 minutes or so. He'll join us, and we will talk about that. Lot to do, lot to go over. The NBA, I know a lot of you have been messaging me and talking to me about the NFL draft. Great. I'm happy. And the draft is over. So whatever the mock drafts were, it doesn't really matter anymore. The big thing is, again, I was kind of, like I said the day after, I was kind of surprised. And you could go back and listen to the draft show. I was surprised, as I said, the last show was the draft show, that Mayweather, or Mayweather. I've been reading a lot of boxing today. Mayweather is constantly talking about making an appearance in the UFC or in MMA. We'll see if that happens. I'm not going to hold my breath. McGregor in boxing made sense. For him to try to make that move into boxing made sense. But Mayweather into MMA, I don't see how that really works too well. Baker Mayfield, but that's who I was talking about before I went off on this tangent. I didn't see him first overall. I was told, a few days before the draft that he could be he could be taken number 1 overall by the Browns, and then I started hearing some other reports. I didn't really. I'm not big on hyperbole. I try to kind of sift through some of the stuff. Some information I sit on, some I don't. That's a little bit of information. I was like, I don't know. I feel like they're yanking my chain here, you know? In this industry, obviously, any sort of news industry, credibility should matter. And you kind of have to sift through the sand when it comes to certain times of the year and some of the information and stuff you're given. I've been burned by sources. I've been fed misinformation to help push agendas, spread one thing to help cause an effect of something else. It's nice that they found your number. Hey, you remember Matt? That's great. Thanks for this information. But it stinks when it's wrong, because even though it's not me giving my opinion of what will happen, or even me predicting anything, most times, whoever's reporting it, you look at him, oh, what a moron. This guy's making crap up. A lot of people think that. You just make stuff up because you're fed misinformation. So again, there's times, earlier I was talking with someone, and I was told that it was confident that the Atlanta Falcons would be making some moves, some trades, and a particular trade that I was told that would happen, and I talked about it, and I reported it. They kind of went back on it, and it wasn't just me, right? I reported that Tevin Coleman, because he has 1 year left on his rookie deal, this is the primary time for them to trade him, and they actually, it was widely reported that they were not, after talking to other members of the Falcons organization. Media members said, oh, they're dying. He's a valued member. They came out and they put out a statement saying it. So, obviously, if the information that was given me was incorrect, now what? How do they look at it? What I can tell you unequivocally is a source that I had with the Falcons said that they saw it was highly likely that he got traded. He was not going to play during the season, and they'd be able to get something in return for him, because they would not be able to sign him to a max deal, and he's a high dollar guy, because otherwise they would end up losing him in free agency and getting nothing. Evidently, it's not a big deal for them. They intend on keeping him, from what they say publicly. Whether they will or won't, I don't know. So, we'll only time will tell. So, they did pick up, by the way, they did pick up some depth at running back. Not that it means anything, I guess. But anyways, moving along. The draft was really interesting this year. Like I keep saying, Darius Fontaine, he ended up going 5th round. Again, everybody I kept talking to, 6th, 7th, undrafted free agent, 5th round. He went the 5th round to the Colts, which was really fair. I think he's a end of the first 2-day talent kind of guy. And I think he's going to really make a big mark on the league. And and I know I talked a lot about him with scouts and people in the league. So he's one of those guys. You know, I see a big future for him in the league. So, let's see right. You were asking. What the? Wow. Yeah, I'm not. You're sending me funny pictures. I don't know what the deal is with that picture. Okay. I'm not going into that on the air. Who is that? That's George Hill. Wow. Okay. So, yeah. That's Trevor Ariza? Wow. Yeah. Yeah. They're gonna have to take an L on that one. Alright. Yeah, if you want to call in, 347-237-5539, I'll discuss that. But otherwise I'm not gonna get too far into that. Yeah, it's and you can message directly. I know I'm seeing some of these messages off of the Facebook at the CHT on Sports, or you can get at me directly at Matt Long Sports. No. Okay. So, can you just sift through those real quick? Producer, please. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I need to talk to people. I need to talk to the audience. They're listening. They kind of need me to talk to them and not read. I'm not going to read them out loud. I'm going to end up in a... You know what kind of stupid stuff comes up on here? I'm not going to read all this stuff out loud. No, it's not a reading issue. Maybe it is a reading issue. I don't know. Anyways, let's move along. Yes, I do. Just to finish answering this question about Baker Mayfield, yes, I do see Baker Mayfield as an NFL quarterback. I do think he fits in the league. Like I said, I'm not giving this as a comparable. I'm just saying who he reminds me of when he plays is Brett Favre. So I am in agreement, with Dorsey when he was like, yeah, he reminds me of Brett Favre. Now, I knew that before, and again, I don't know. I just didn't see him going first overall. But they have Tyrod Taylor there. They are competing. They are competing for a starting position. And Tyrod Taylor's not going to back off. And it's going to be an interesting camp when we come up. And I've already been told that Mayfield has been working on some of his weaknesses. he's getting a lot of reps with new teammates right now. He's spending a lot of time outside of his comfort zone in the Browns offense. Again, Todd Haley, and he had Mayweather work some things within the comfort zone, some things out of the comfort zone, because the Browns offense coordinator, again, Todd Haley, has Mayweather working a lot under center. Something Oklahoma's offense doesn't do a ton. So, will he transition to the NFL? Yeah, he will. They work in these RPOs into NFL offenses because the days of the coaches, hammering quarterbacks to fit into their mold, pushing them to fit into their mold has kind of gone. It's just that there's not many true NFL quarterback prospects that are along that mold anymore in college that that play at a high level. So obviously you're not going to get much options. There's a lot of RPO. There's a lot of open offenses. A lot of up tempo, and the NFL has adapted some of its game to that. Now, what I will say about the NFL game versus the college game, you have to be able to pass to have any sort of success or longevity in the NFL. If you're a running quarterback, you will not last. And I see it popped up right here. What about Cam Newton? Okay. Cam Newton is big. He is big. And he's durable. And he's a freak athlete. He is not a good quarterback. He is not a good thrower of the ball. That is not his strong suit. He has to be able to mix in the running. He doesn't have the speed, say like Michael Vick had. Even if you ask Michael Vick, and I have, being able to pass the ball in the NFL and being able to work in the pocket and manipulate that pocket, passing is where the most success is. Guys in the league are too big, too fast, too strong. You're getting hit way too hard on every single play to be running all the time or running too much. Some guys have had some success running and a little bit of longevity because they've learned how to slide. They've learned how to avoid the contact, go out of bounds, throw the ball away, eat one. I mean, you used to see Peyton Manning. He would just fall down. He would feel the pressure on him, and instead of taking a hit, he would just kind of fall down. Peyton Manning's like 6'6". He's big. Durable guy. But instead of taking the hits, fall down. I mean, what is he going to get out of it? A broken rib, intercepted pass. He ducks it, goes down. So guys have to learn how to work within the boundaries that they have in the game. And there's a lot of guys that never really learn how to do that. So Baker's going to have to do that. It's going to be something that is going to be very much a requirement for him in the NFL. He has a lot of athleticism. He can make some pretty ridiculous passes. The way that he can contort his body and still be able to throw the ball on target is pretty ridiculous. Again, pass completion percentage does not equal accuracy. So please do not get on here and argue with me about that. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, I'm going to take one more question here before. I'll take one more. See. About the NBA. I'm going to get into, that's my next topic. I'm going to do NBA. Give me something else so I can address it. Okay, so what about these things? No. Okay, so what do I see for? Okay, the Bills moving forward. Okay, the Bills. Okay, I can touch on the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills are, once we get a few weeks into the season, we're going to find out if the Buffalo Bills had the best draft out of everybody, or they swung and missed hard. Because, Josh Allen, he's a guy that, I like his prospect. I had him, I thought I had him on my mock going first. The only mock I do. I had him going first. Just simply because he is such. I just figured he's such a good fit for the Bills. And I know that they made some moves there at quarterback. And but why'd you send me the old roster? Jesus. People. Okay. So, yeah, send me the current roster for the Bills, man. It's sending me the... Kidding me now. What do I pay you for? Again, the Bills have made some moves. I liked that they picked up... they signed Chris Ivory for a running back to complement Shady McCoy. They still have Marcus Murray. So that's a situation that has a lot of prospect in my mind of really improving their situation. They signed A.J. McCarron, who was a veteran, and it was brilliant the way that they were able to argue out of his out of that the last year of that deal that he's a free agent. Nathan Peterman, I like Nathan Peterman. I talked quite a bit about him at the Shrine game a couple years ago. I talked to the Bills, and I felt that they were pretty high on him. And I know that they ended up they had a little bit. Obviously, he played there at Pittsburgh, so, some bit of familiarity with him. Now, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 252 yards. Doesn't look great at all. With a rating of 38.4. Great thing is you can bounce back. Now, the first game he played in Indy, he threw 1 touchdown, no interceptions, at 100.8. He rushed for 10 yards. He did have a fumble. And then the last game he played in against New Orleans, week 10, he was 7 for 10 for 78 yards, a touchdown, no turnovers, and he had a quarterback rating of 126.7. And so, if on the season, he completed 24 of 59, almost 50% of his passes, while throwing 5 interceptions, and really not having some people. He lost some support, largely because people thought Tyrod Taylor was there. Was they paid him? That was the guy, and clearly the coaching staff did see him as a fit. These things happen. So, I like Josh Allen there. I had him. He fits that Northeast area. I think Buffalo will be a good fit for him. They got A.J. McCarron in there, so they don't have any guy that's really had significant starting experience. So all 3 of those guys will really compete for the job. Being a first-round pick, Josh is, from what I gather, he's a quick learner. I don't see any reason why he's not starting week 1. I honestly don't. Is A.J. McCarron, is he poised to work in the NFL? Absolutely. So I don't see why Sean McDermott wouldn't start him right away. So I think they got a quality defense. They got some skills players, good depth in running back. Again, I stopped at Chris Ivory, McCoy, and Murray, but they also had Keith Ford there too, a rookie they drafted out of Texas A&M, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of, those would be the 4. They keep 4 guys usually, and then maybe ask one of the other guys to head up the practice squad. But that's probably what they're going to end up looking at. They might even keep Murray, McCoy, Ivory, and then ask Ford to head up the practice squad. I don't know. we'll see. But there's a lot to look forward. I mean, they got Kelvin Benjamin at the end of last year. I mean, they have some really underrated guys at wide receiver. And especially Zay Jones. I think Zay Jones, his second year in the league, is really amped to come out. You know, he is a phenomenal playmaker. So, and one guy, as I have as a sleeper making that roster, is Brandon Reilly. Yeah, he's a second-year guy out of Nebraska, sure-handed, great route running. He was really coached well in college. So, Brandon Reilly is going to be one of those guys I think is going to end up making this roster because, you know, at 6'2", 200, good route running, good hands, a year in the system already, puts him in a good position to be able to really make a run at this roster. Okay. Yeah, we do have time for one more. Alright. Let's see here. No. I'm going to get into NBA. No. Let's see here. The Giants. Yeah, we could talk about the New York Giants. I was talking with a friend the other day who's a huge Giants fan. Really excited about some of the moves that the Giants have made over the offseason. Trading JPP to Tampa was big. They want to see more out of Eli Apple. But I think the drafting Ray Armstrong, I think that's a good piece to put in. Obviously, Odell Beckham Jr. and the dynamic of having Barkley there as well really puts them in a good situation. They have some outside of having Barkley, they got in some depth. Can you pull that up here, please? Besides Barkley, they got some depth. They picked up Jonathan Stewart, right? Who I like. And then they picked up Wayne Galeman. Now, that's a guy, unless you're a fantasy football guy, you're probably not going to know who he is. Galeman has had some success off the bench. He's one of those hard-working guys. He's a Clemson. He's out of Clemson. He's I think it was like a 4th-round pick or something like that. But he's one of those guys. I think will work well for the Giants, and I like that there. I think that they need to do some more to add more depth to, and I think they will. Once we get into camp, we're going to see some more signings there. But yeah, I think that it's going to be they got a good situation there. Now, as quarterback, because I know that's kind of what you're hinting at, Eli Manning's going to start. Davis Webb is their kind of guy in waiting, in a sense. And they show just because they have him that they're kind of setting up a system to where they have Davis. They're going to keep 3 quarterbacks. Just so we're clear, the Giants are going to keep 3 quarterbacks. Eli is long in the tooth, so there might be situations where he comes out or if he gets hurt. Davis Webb is the guy that they've had the confidence in grooming along in the system. But Kyle Lauletta, he's a quality, and if guys don't know who he is, he was out of Richmond University, the university, that college, the Spiders, the one with the spider on the side, and it's pretty wicked helmets. But Kyle Lauletta, he is a quality guy to have in there. So I fully am in the belief that they're going to retain 3 quarterbacks. Alex Tanney, I don't know if he's going to be a practice squad guy or they're going to release him, but I see them retaining 3 quarterbacks. Having Odell Beckham, having Sterling Sharpard is pretty big, But now making some moves to bring in Evan Ingram out of Missouri at the tight end position. He'll be able to contribute right away for the team. I think he was a really good fit. And then they signed Ellerson, a guy that has some veteran experience. He played with the Vikings last year. He's a USC guy. So I see him working out well. The kind of their tight end situation. As far as their defense goes, like I said, they've moved some guys around. Darvin Tomlinson, I think, is a good addition there. Kid out of Alabama. Putting him in at he'll probably play right defensive end. And then they got Avery Moss. I'm really familiar with Avery. He's kind of come along with the Giants pretty well. I haven't talked to him in a little bit, but I know he has been improving from people I've talked to. They ended up picking him up in the 5th round. Now, Avery was standing out quite a bit at Nebraska. He had a bit of a slip-up, did something dumb, and kind of ended his time in Nebraska. He tried to stay there. He tried to work it out, and they just said, nah. Pelini got fired. He went to Youngstown. And he did well there, too. And he won a lot in the combine. I think if he would have had a better Senior Bowl, he probably would have went first 2 days instead of the 5th round. But nonetheless, I know he's a guy that sticks to it and works. So I like that right there. Now, outside of that, they have some options at the linebacker position. They made some upgrades. They clearly have Oliver Vernon on the weak side. They picked up Alex Ogletree on the interior. Now, Ogletree, he can play linebacker and he can play safety. So he's one of those hybrid guys. They're looking to get more out of Eli Apple, and clearly Landon Collins is going to really hold it down. Jenkins did well for him last year as well, so we're going to see how this starting core works. They do have some guys. They picked up quite a bit of free agents. Let's see here. Some guys I'm not as familiar with. We'll get a little bit more into them later on when we get into the season. Okay, so, but yeah, I liked what they did. I like what the Giants did. I mean, at this point, it's really hard to say I don't like what they're doing. Like, they have to really screw something up. I think there's more the Giants could have done. I think there's a lot more they need to do. Like I said, getting more depth at running back is going to be key. Jonathan Stewart has a lot of miles on him. And Saquon Barkley, we don't know how he's going to be in the NFL. We could assume he's going to be a beast. That's why we talked about him being deserving of the top overall pick. But there's some room for maturation there. So it's going to be interesting to see where they end up with him. See, hey, can you check to see on Derek? What's up with Derek? Yeah. So we're checking that. Derek Helling's supposed to join us tonight. I believe Kevin Crest is as well. Yes, sir. Oh, okay. Awesome. That's awesome. Let's get a heads up on that. So it's why am I smiling? I'm just smiling because I get an update. I get updates from people sometimes, and I just got an update from somebody that's in the Steelers camp. I'm just happy for the guy. Why is that so funny? You can't be happy for somebody? No, you... Alright. So, can you get on the mic? No, don't do that. I'll just say, okay, so my producer here is telling me that as a media member, being happy for somebody is bias. I don't think that's bias. Why can't I be? I honestly do not understand why, being happy for someone, it would be being biased. How is that being biased? Because I'm rooting for somebody? I got a newsflash, buddy. I root for everybody to succeed. Even you. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but I generally, I pretty much root for everybody to succeed. So, what do you mean, how could I root for everybody to succeed? Because I genuinely want to see people succeed. I know everybody won't succeed. This is the most moronic argument I've ever had with somebody. I know people fail. Exactly. Okay, so what's your point? People fail. Okay? So why do I want everybody to succeed? It's not about... Jesus. I want to see everybody succeed because I am literally happy when people do well. That's all. That's the end of the story to it. There's not a whole lot else behind it. I don't know. Anyways, I'm done with you. This is why you don't have a microphone over there. Just push buttons. Yeah. Jesus. We're going to go a different direction with this. Yeah. Okay. Oh, at 10:30. Or 9:30. Okay. I thought he was on at 9. But it's 9:30. That's my bad. But he's on the line now. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for working today. I appreciate that. So, all right. So what we're going to do now is yesterday we had some court decision go down, and it has changed the layout, the relationship between sports and gambling. And to better articulate it and explain it, I'm bringing on our first guest of the evening and business and law contributor, Derek Helling. How are you doing tonight, Derek? Can you hear me, Derek?
Yes.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes. It worked. Wonderful. So, the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, said sports and gambling can be friends. Do I understand the ruling correctly?
Yeah, basically, I mean, if the technical terms for the benefit of the audience out there, basically what they did was they reversed the decision of the lower appeals court. Technically, that's what they did, which that decision upheld the 1992 Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, more commonly known as PASPA. And so, but the real devil details there, and because there were a number of possibilities of what the court could have done, really quite a few options. And so reading over the 49 pages, over 14,000 words, was, for myself, a lot of fun yesterday. Probably a lot of people wouldn't have found that so great. But because of the number of different things that the court could have done yesterday, it's just important to go through the entire majority opinion, which it was a 7-2 decision. Rehnquist and Sotomayor were the dissensions. That the other 7 justices agreed with the majority opinion. So basically, this was a huge victory for Governor Murphy, the state of New Jersey, however you want to put it, and sports betting, because I think the most important line out of all the many sentences that the majority opinion covered was Congress is free to regulate sports betting, but in the absence of that, states are certainly welcome to do so. So I think that was probably the most important line out of all those 14,000 words, in that the court not only found that PASPA was unconstitutional commandeering, and I'll explain that term here in a second, but pretty blatantly invited states to legalize and regulate sports betting within their borders in absence of Congress stepping in to do that, which is another topic which we could definitely and I think should discuss here in a second. But to get back to the unconstitutional commandeering. Commandeering is essentially the fancy word for when the federal government oversteps its bounds according to our Constitution and dictates to states what they should or shouldn't be doing beyond the leeway given to the federal government.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
To start your show now, press 1.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
Advantage that gave those four states in terms of revenue and commerce within their borders that New Jersey argued that it should have the opportunity to avail itself of as well.
So is there a chance?
That is in a nutshell. Go ahead.
Is there a chance that these states may try to appeal it? Or maybe, obviously, because it is a big part of commerce in those states. Is there a chance that they try to fight to have it appealed to maintain for their states? I know some states, like for example, the state of Nebraska, they have tossed around gambling, but the university has a lot of political pull, and there's fear on the Board of Regents that if gambling was introduced, because the Ponca tribe has been told that they were cleared to build casinos, but still have not been allowed to build casinos because the state won't allow it to be done, even on their own land, just because obviously there's a federal component to it because it's U.S. dollars, so it's a treasury type thing. So they had not gotten approval, but because they think that it's going to take away from what the university offers for entertainment. But that's the thing is, right now, Council Bluffs is like an adopted part of Omaha, basically, and most of the revenue that they get comes from Nebraska, frankly.
Well, I mean, I think that the court would have been remiss not to consider the economic impact that this has. A lot at this point, as far as what that is going to end up being, is a lot of speculation right now, because you can't. We know that this happens on an illegal. That this happened on an illegal level, en masse, and to a great amount. To know exactly what the dollar figure is there's a lot of conjecture out there. But we know it's a significant amount. And the other reason why you can't really put a hard figure to that is because you can't assume that just because these legal channels are created that people are going to automatically gravitate toward them.
Yeah.
There might be some people who continue to place their bets throughout these channels, regardless of the fact that there are new domestic legal channels created.
Now, I've kind of had...
with that being said...
When it comes to, like... I don't think that there's going to be a ton of people, because I know a lot of conservatives think if we legalize gambling, that's going to lead to more widespread, rampant, corruption or whatever. I don't think legalizing the gambling really is going to lead to more degenerate gamblers on a whole. Because generally now, because gambling is legal, generally now, the people that don't gamble aren't going to start saying, hey, I want to start doing sports gambling because it's now legal. Same way with people that, I would equate it to people that smoke marijuana. If you smoked marijuana, you were doing it while it was a Schedule 1, you'll do it after it's taken off as Schedule 1, which I understand they're trying to work to fix that. Yeah. But those people that don't smoke marijuana, when California or Colorado or Washington or a number of the states that legalized it, they're not running out to go start smoking pot once it was legalized. It's just not their thing. And that's the same thing with gambling. I like that. I'm really for legalizing stuff and then regulating it. Like, we can go ahead and I think we should just go ahead and lump prostitution in there, weed, gambling. Let's just get them all in there and regulate them and have some money because to pay for to get tax revenue for stuff we need. Because we have to face it. If we're going to retire, or if we want roads, if we want buildings to operate properly, if we want schools, we want teachers to get money, let alone more money, we have to have tax dollars for that. So, let's look at other options to bring in tax dollars.
I mean, I'm completely with you on all of those counts myself as well. That I think that not only from a financial aspect, but I just think from a social perspective, it makes a hell of a lot more sense than what we're currently doing. So I think as a society, this not only for sports, that this was a step in the right direction. So as I wrote yesterday in my kind of explainer about this, the real drama has just now begun. It's just kind of opened the door for the battles that are going to take place to really ramp up now, because there are a lot of stakeholders in this who would like to see their interests in what this is going to look like realized and protected by the legislation that's going to be enacted over the next few months and years. Those being the casinos, the state treasuries, and Congress itself, and Native American tribes, who I think are going to play a big role in this in the several states that they have a presence along these lines in. And last, but certainly not least, the professional sports leagues themselves are going to play a part in what this is going to look like. I think probably the first thing that needs to be discussed when we talk about that is, I think by and large, the pro sports leagues, and to some degree, probably the people that are looking to provide the infrastructure for this. And talking to Sport Radar, I also wrote about this as well. They would like to see kind of a central hub, a main frame, and they've done that in Italy. Is one place where they've done a kind of a clearinghouse, a national clearinghouse. And I know the professional sports leagues would love to see Congress step in and provide a federal framework for how this is going to work, as opposed to the individual 50 states deciding how it's going to look individually for themselves.
I don't see that happening under this administration, because a lot of what they have under this administration is, back away from it as the federal government and let the states regulate it. It seems like they want to push everything to the states because it takes it off the federal budget. So that's what it's it's not really, it's not helping so much, because with a federal guideline and doing it from a federal, again, this could be something much more easily done at the federal level, and then each state adopt that framework. But they haven't. They still haven't even, Congress still hasn't even cleared. They have a bill that they're working to legalize. God, this stupid fucking spread.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
To start your show now.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
Then that forces all the sports books in the whole country to abide by that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot easier for them too, and a lot cheaper, and they spend a lot less man hours lobbying for that than they would trying to get a 50 state legislatures to do that.
Well, I'm not.
So that's really the big reason.
I'm not really much of a gambler. I like the games. I see the entertainment in it. I get it. Our kind of resident gambler is actually co-host Kevin Kress. So I like to welcome on, bring Kevin into the conversation. Kevin, what do you think this does for gambling? And does it make it easier? Does it make you want to place bets domestically rather than abroad, or what does this do for you as somebody that gambles?
Yeah, it's been a while, so I'm glad to be back on the show. Good to talk to you, Matthew and Darren. I don't want us to make too much of this ruling, because it still just puts it right back to the states. We already have Nevada, which has legalized sports betting. Why haven't the leagues, gotten their share of that? I mean, it seems to me that we're making a lot more over this ruling. I love the ruling. I think it's, from a fairness perspective, it's totally the right thing to do. You've got Delaware and New Jersey, I think, that are positioned. I think right now they were the big proponents of this particular ruling, and so you've got several states which have legalized horse racing with casinos around those horse races. So I don't know how many states it is, but it's a handful that'll impact. But in answer to your question, Matthew, I don't know that it would compel me to bet more than I do, because I have other avenues to do that. I have online sites I can place bets.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
To start your show now, press 1. To hear important instructions, press 2. To speak to customer service, press...
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
I mean, if you don't smoke pot, does legalization actually compel you to smoke pot? I don't know. I mean, I would think in that instance, you know, I drink, I gamble. I might be compelled to smoke a joint now and then if it was legal. It wouldn't make me do much more. The gambling, I don't know because I have every avenues. I mean, I can gamble. I've got friends that have bookies. I have sites. I mean, I just think it's a fair thing. But states that have casinos and or horse racing. I mean, I live in Arkansas. We have Oaklawn in Little Rock, which is one of the premier facilities in the country now. There's a casino attached to the club, and I'm sure they'll want. I mean, but the state still has to approve that. I mean, we have a long way to go outside of Delaware and New Jersey, right? Delaware and New Jersey were the two states that said we want this right now, and from what I understand from reports,
Delaware had an exemption. PASPA never affected Delaware. Delaware could have turned on sports betting at any time. So could Oregon and Montana. Those, along with
but
Nevada,
why didn't
those four states.
Then why didn't Delaware do it?
I guess they just never got the framework and decided on how it was going to work.
Okay.
So
that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You've got three states, as you said, Delaware, Idaho, and Oregon, that had the exemption and never actually implemented it. And so, are the other 46 states can automatically implement this? I don't think so. I mean, I don't believe that that's going to be the case. I mean, but there are some states. I mean, there are some states I would, and I'm not. Arkansas is pretty conservative. I don't know that they'll go straight to sport because you bring up a good point. Is the infrastructure necessary to do all this is a whole lot different than putting a bunch of slot machines in, right? I mean, and the risk, right? I mean, there's a bigger risk. The slot machines are rigged. You know exactly how much money you're going to make from slot machines, right? Mm-hmm. You do, and you know exactly how much you're going to make from card games, etc., because of the odds. Sports is a whole different deal because that's real live action.
People bet.
And which way the line goes. I mean, it's a much riskier proposition, especially. And I'm not talking about the privately held institutions, but in many cases, for instance, Arkansas, Oaklawn is the state of Arkansas. I want to take on that additional risk with sports betting because that's a whole different deal. I mean, if you have your handle going the wrong way on the Super Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. If you have things go the wrong way late, and all of a sudden, you know, the line can't adjust quickly enough, and you're on the wrong end of that deal, and that's state stuff. That's a different deal than, you know, a roulette wheel over time. You know exactly how that's going to work. Blackjack, you know exactly how it's going to work. They have millions and millions and millions and millions of hands and wheel turns and slot machines and video poker, all that. You know how that's going to work. And of course, on poker, like Hold'em, the house just takes a percentage of that, so there's no risk at all on there for that on that. And so when you start talking now about the risk associated with sports books, it's a whole different animal than it is with these other games. And so I'm just wondering, who's going to latch on to that? New Jersey, obviously, because they already have the Atlantic City, and I understand it why they felt screwed, because why should Vegas have it and they shouldn't? And I get that. I'm not sure who's going to jump on this thing with both feet. As you said, Delaware had the exemption; they hadn't done it before, so why not? And so I think it's interesting I think it'll be interesting to see who actually does gravitate towards this. I think it's a good ruling. I agree with the ruling, 100%. I think it was totally unfair. And as somebody that does like to, and I am not a regular gambler. I go to Vegas once every couple of years. I'll pick up a game or two that I see as a good line or something that I jump on. But I'm not a big sports a big sports bettor, mainly because the NFL lines are so tough. There's so much attention paid to those games because there's only 16 of them every week. College, you can make some money, but I'm interested to see what happens the next 6 months on how this is implemented, right?
Yeah.
Because
Mississippi.
Because California, for instance, that's all Native American. So there's no, they've got the racetracks, but we'll have to see how they jump onto this stuff. I'd love to be able to. I mean, 50 miles away here in Siloam Springs, Arkansas, it's a Native American, a Cherokee casino, and walk in and place a bet on a football game. I'd love to do that, and maybe they'll jump on that. But as I mentioned, do they want to take that risk? And I think that's something that hasn't been mentioned. I haven't seen it mentioned in any of the publications or any of the things that sports betting carries a different type of risk than what these other casinos and everything or even horse racing to an extent is rigged. I know people want to hear that, but it is not what you think it is. Not on the pari-mutuel side, not on a daily. Now the stakes races, whole different deal. Preakness is coming up on Saturday. Those guys are racing to win, but on a day-to-day basis, that's a racket as well. Same with Highline in South Florida, et cetera. And so sports betting is a whole different. It's uncontrollable, especially now that athletes make so much money. Nobody can control the outcome of the game, and I think that's one thing that will keep some of these entities from jumping in with both feet until they can assess the risk.
Mississippi and Pennsylvania went ahead and got laws on the books in anticipation and to take effect when and if PASPA was either struck down by the court or repealed by Congress. So those are two more states who have some kind of legislation currently on the books to regulate it. Now, as far as when those keys are going to get turned and when that engine is actually going to start running, they're in the same place as New Jersey right now. There's nothing stopping them but themselves at this point, as far as getting this ramped up. And there's a bunch of other states who are at different processes. The process at different stages in the process of getting laws on the books themselves, all adding up to, if you add up the states which had the exemption, which of course that no longer even matters, the Pennsylvania, Mississippi, New Jersey, which already have laws on the books now, and the other states who are at some different stage of the process, either have had laws introduced that are in committee, have had bills that have been voted on by one house but not the other, exploratory bills that have been introduced into committee, that adds up to 25. So half the country at this point is at least talking about it in their state legislatures. or has it already enacted? Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got a number of those. I'm sure a number of those states already have horse racing or other things. But the question then you get, now let's go operational. Who's going to set the lines, right? Because right now, because you only really have Nevada or Las Vegas, so the Las Vegas line is the line, right? But what happens if you have 25 states? What's the line on the game?
Yeah.
Who sets the lines? And that's a very limited area of expertise, only because nobody can legally do it except for Las Vegas. So now, as we go forward, are you going to have? Or all of a sudden you're going to have kind of these weird things where? What about the odds maker in Atlantic City says, wait a second, I think Alabama's a 3-point favorite, and the guy in Las Vegas says, oh no, they're a 7-point favorite. And all of a sudden, you got these divergent lines.
Don't they have
I'm just
that?
talking from a betting perspective.
I mean, don't they have that to?
How does it all work?
Don't they already have that to a certain effect right now?
Not so much because you have because I think the guys in Vegas, there's like 5 or 6 major sports books in Vegas. You've got Caesars and MGM and Bellagio, and of course Caesars has like 7 of the top casinos, so they've got one guy that does it for all their casinos. Caesars, Flamingo, Harrah's, that's all one group. You've got the MGM group, and then you've got the other guys. So you only have like three guys setting lines in Vegas, and they're kind of work together because they don't want because they're on the same street. They don't want to be too divergent because then they drive people. So they kind of work in conjunction. But if you now have multiple states, and I think realistically you're going to have maybe 4 or 5 states within the next year, because as you said, it's going to take time to get this legislation. So you're probably going to have, as you said, Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware. What's the other one? Mississippi. I think you mentioned Mississippi already has it. And Mississippi's a big one because they've got the whole Gulf Coast down there. I mean, they've got Biloxi and all that stuff. So I think they're a big player in this. But who's going to set the lines? You've got to find somebody that can do that. That's a very analytical exercise. I mean, that's a hard thing to do. That takes somebody with a lot of experience. And so it's not like there's a bunch of guys wandering around setting lines because the offshore guys, the people who have been operating, they just use the Vegas line, and they just take their 10% off the top. They don't take take some risk, but the real guys taking the risk are in Vegas because of the numbers. But as people have mentioned, illegal gambling is 20 times, 50 times, 100 times what's happening in Vegas. So the big question is are the states going to be able to take some of that away? Yeah, but what if you're in, Iowa or Kansas, where there's no way they're going to legalize sports betting. They have no betting, and so are you going to eliminate all of it? No, I don't think you are. I mean,
But those are actually 2 of the states who have bills that are being processed, as a matter of fact.
I always had betting for a little bit, like gambling, but I guess not betting.
But I think in those cases, from what I've read about about the particular members of the legislature who have proposed these bills and the conversation about them, the Kansas bill died in committee, in the Senate committee. It never proceeded to the full floor. In Iowa, it's still being deliberated in committee. So, in Kansas, there was, I guess, more accurately, there was a bill. But no concurrent one has been proposed just yet. We'll see what happens. And in Iowa, it's still in committee. I think the majority of the reason why they're looking at this, they're more looking at as a payday, as revenue for the states, and the reason is because they're broke, and so basically they're seeing a potential payday in this, and I don't know how much that's going to matriculate into reality in those states for the reasons that you already mentioned. Iowa has riverboat casinos. I know
right.
that there's...
They do. You're right.
Yeah,
they do. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And that can...
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
To start your show now, press 1. To hear important...
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
You've got a Harris up there outside of Kansas City. Some other stuff. I think, we'll have to see, I agree. Now here's another question. Will sports betting or the legalization of sports betting drive more states to actually legalize gambling as a whole, right? They all have lotteries. And that's legalized. That's state-run gambling. Come on, it is. But will it prompt them to bring in casino gambling in some way, shape, or form because of the sports betting? But I'm going to go back to the risk. It's a much riskier proposition. It sounds it was a great publicity thing yesterday. Oh gosh, the Supreme Court had this ruling. But if I'm gonna open a casino and I'm gonna start with something that's less risk, I'm not going with sports betting. I'm going with slot machines. I'm going with tried and true table games. I'm going with roulette. I'm going with the stuff that I know the odds right off the bat. Sports betting it's a risky proposition. It just is. I'll ask you, Matthew. If you're going to open up a betting parlor, are you going to go with something that you can rig? Which is, slot machines are rigged. You can program them. They're computers. Football players, basketball players, baseball players, they're not computers. That you cannot program that. So that return is uncertain. It's inconsistent. It is risky on the part of whoever's backing it, and so that's why I come at this more from that perspective, is saying, yeah, this is great, and if you already have a lot of casino, if you're trying to build revenue from existing gambling infrastructure such as casinos or horse racing, yes, adding sports betting makes sense. But to just add sports betting,
I think Florida...
that makes no sense to me.
Florida definitely needs to get into it. So this past weekend, there was a horse auction in Ocala. Anybody that knows anything about horse racing, pretty much all the ones that you see in these breeder stakes, most of them come from Ocala. It's like the epicenter for racehorses. The auction earned something like $65 million. 200 and some horses sold. $64 million. Christ's sakes. So, in a sense, if you're a state that's in a position that you could benefit from having it, and again, I know they just added in their legislature, take away sports gambling, take away online sports gambling. It's so dumb. But I think they need to reverse that. I think Florida, uniquely, more unique than many other states because it's such a high tourist state. You get so many people that are from all over the country, particularly the Northeast, and you can really capitalize on, there's already casinos here. So gambling's already here. It's not an issue. How do you take what's primarily controlled through Vegas, West Coast, a little bit in Jersey, and how do you make that applicable or accessible in Florida? I just think Florida's in a unique situation that they should try to capitalize on. If I'm Florida, I try to capitalize on it. If I'm Montana, it doesn't make sense, So do I invest in it? Yes, if it's the right state. If Montana, North Dakota, get your penny slots going, and then we'll talk. But even then, who's doing the traveling? You go to the Black Hills, you see Mount Rushmore, and then you want to put a bet in on the Broncos game or something. I don't get it. It doesn't make make sense there.
Yeah, total agreement. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is if you already have a horse racing or casino infrastructure, adding sports betting is a natural progression now that it's legal, in any state. For the other states, for any state, let's take Texas for example, right, where there are no casinos. There's nothing in Texas. Okay, not even Native American casinos in Texas. There's no Native American presence there. Does this prompt Texas now to decide to pursue casinos or whatever? I don't think so. I'm just saying that's my opinion. Okay, I don't believe that this would be the tipping point for that.
Houston should fight for it.
Point, though, for those other states, well, to consolidate and just add to their repertoire or their menu of what you can bet on. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, Florida, for instance, Florida's going to be huge. And Virginia, okay, I'll take Virginia. They have a shutdown racetrack outside of Richmond that some investors just recently bought, and they're going to try to re-energize it. And the Virginia legislature has before them a bill to allow casino-type gambling along with the racetrack. This ruling could, in fact, tip that scale, right? Because now you have racetrack, casino, and sports betting. It could, in fact, tip the scale in the favor of that endeavor. I don't think it's going to make. It's going to make. And I'm going to try to say a state now, Darren. You correct me if I've got a state that already has gambling. It's not going to prompt Indiana, okay, to all of a sudden say we're gonna start doing gambling. I don't think Indiana has anything, but Kentucky has Churchill Downs. Arkansas has Oaklawn. They've also got something in West Memphis.
To Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound.
To start your show now, press 1. To hear important...
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, they're reconnecting you now.
Day-to-day betting handle is sports. I don't think it's that big. It's a percentage, right? I mean, I've been there. I go to Vegas every year or two, and I rarely place a sports bet. I mean, rarely, if ever, place a sports bet. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I think it's a good ruling. I get all that. I think it's fair. I think it's the right thing to do. But we'll have to see what the Mark Cuban came out today, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and said that all the sports franchises are going to double in value. I think he's full of crap. I think that's a bunch of crap.
So the same guy that said that the NFL should have folded by now, right? That same. Anyway.
Well,
yeah.
I think
I would urge Mark Cuban to pay more attention to his franchise.
Yeah, he's actually gotten a lot of
on the court. They pretty much sucked for the last.
Well, they've been tanking, and he admitted they were tanking, which he got a fine for.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he's also the criticism is he's spending too much time on endeavors outside the franchise and is suffering. But I think what's going to happen is kind of like we're going to see the
Sixers.
Go ahead. I think what we're going to see is kind of like the solar energy effect with gambling, because I don't think anybody says, "Hey, I don't want solar energy because I want to save," because it saves me money in the long run. I'll get money by feeding the grid. And Sprint is terrible. Sprint is terrible. It is just giving so many problems tonight, folks. So
welcome to Blog Talk Radio.
Those
Please
of you
enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
Who are listening over on Spreaker and on SoundCloud, that's what this is.
To start your show now, press 1. To hear important instructions.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
All right, sorry about that. We're having a bit of technical difficulties with the phone line, and the show cuts in and out because of that. And I am going to have what could only be described from the movie White Chicks, a bitch fit with Sprint. So I'm going to call them and I'm going to have a bitch fit, a BF. Yeah. I've literally cut out like 6 times. So, it's frustrating. But what I say, I think it's going to have the solar energy effect on people. It's not that they're not going to do it because they see a benefit in it. It's they're going to wait till it's advantageous for them to do it. It has to be set up. It has to be going, and people have to see it's something that is worth their time. I don't think people are just going to jump on board and say, "Hey, it's available now. Let's go do it." No, they're going to say, "Oh, it's available now." Just like people playing the lottery. Like most people, I mean, include myself in this, unless it's over $200 million, I'm not giving you my $2. More people play when it's over $200 million, but still, if it's not over $200 million, I'm not going to fork out $2. I'm sorry to donate, because I finally last time got a number right. I got a single number right, and was excited. But still, unless it's over $200 million, I'm not even going to get involved in it. So I think with legalized gambling, if they see it as more of an option. Again, the last time I went to a casino, I had dinner. I didn't place any bets. I didn't play any games. I just had dinner. The Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tampa has a tremendous buffet upstairs. And it was freaking awesome. So I had dinner the last time I went to a casino.
I'm actually headed to Atlantic City on Thursday. This weekend, Perez out there is hosting the final for the Ubisoft Rainbow Six Siege Pro League, and I'm going out to cover it. And that's actually probably what I'm looking forward to the most is the buffet.
Buffets are awesome.
Well, yeah.
So,
the esports competition should be easy too, but that's only one day of the 3 I'm going to be.
Yeah, and the buffet is you get more options. You get to pick who wins at the buffet, and it's you, my friend. It's you. Spoiler alert.
That's right. Every time.
You win at the buffet. Yeah, that's the sport that's rigged. The buffet. You win every time.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. So one thought that's been always coming into my head is I wonder how many people that are part of the population that's been placing bets either through offshore channels, quote unquote illegally, were even cognizant of the fact that what they were doing was technically illegal. Because it wasn't enforced. And as we all know, the law is only as good as its enforcement. I wonder how many people
cognizant.
heard about this Supreme Court ruling.
I think a lot of them know it's illegal, but I just think most don't care. It's like whatever. I lose my money. If not, I keep playing. Wasn't that kind of like your methodology to it, Kevin? When you with that one you did, you kind of had was it like $15 in? It's just sitting there.
I think I think most people didn't really care. Were cognizant of the fact because most people lose. The question is, what happens when you win big and you can't get your money out? Who are you going to go to?
There we go. Yeah.
You have no recourse, right? Because what are you going to go? Hey, I want these guys. Oh wait, I was breaking the law to begin with, so I'm screwed.
Yeah.
So, right? I mean, that's kind of the kind of the deal, right? Because I know I have I think I'm ahead with my offshore stuff, and I'll admit I've done this at the website, but I think I have $140 that I know I'll never see. Right? Because I'll submit my request for payment, and it will never come. And what am I going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah,
go to my local authorities and go, hey, my offshore bookie didn't pay me what I was supposed to get.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that. For me, it's having it there for fun. It's just a fun account. So I know that.
You go into this person, you have no authority whatsoever, and make them
right.
Yes. Make them do what I want them to do. Yeah.
And I was breaking the law to begin with by even logging into the site. I'm breaking the law, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm kind of screwed.
I mean, it's not once again to bring up the marijuana thing in a state where it's not legal. That would be like going to the police and being like, hey, I delivered this guy's product and he never paid me for it. And the police would be like, I think that the officer you're talking to would be like, wow, you were really dumb.
I delivered a dime bag to this guy. Didn't pay me for it. Can you go arrest him?
Yeah.
Well, wait a second.
We will right after we arrest you. Yeah.
Arrest you. That's right. He's second on the list, right? So that's where I think part of the part I do like about this is that we bring this stuff out from the dark and I know Adam Silver of all of the major commissioners of the Major League Sports has been a proponent for this, and I applaud that. I mean, you regulate it, you bring it out, and you open it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing.
India has also been,
they also got.
India has also been the biggest. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Now, and you can't tell me, and I think we went over this last year, Matthew. You can't tell me that the NFL hadn't been hit by this. You can't tell me that some calls by officials haven't been dictated. This is the big lie when it comes to Major League Sports, is that, our officials aren't affected by gambling money. That's crap. I mean, it is total crap. College level, we've had scandals. They have swept, and this, I think the biggest effect of this ruling may be to bring that all out, into the open kind of thing, because now you have more, but that's also pure supposition on my part. But I think anytime you regulate it, anytime you make it public, I think is a good thing. You go back to Prohibition time with alcohol, and it was a mess. And I'm not a proponent for certain activities being legal. I'm not a proponent for cocaine and heroin and other things like that. But in this case, this is self-inflicted, harmless stuff. I mean, if people are going to gamble, they're going to gamble. And if they had a propensity to gamble on sports, they're already doing it, because there's so many avenues to do it. So this isn't. And by the way, it's legal in Las Vegas. It's legal in those 4 states. So I think from the Supreme Court standpoint, they were saying, well, they weren't making a statement on the morality of gambling. What they were saying was
not whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. What they were saying was, from a fairness perspective, this law unconstitutionally penalized 46 states. Is that? Am I correct with that?
Yeah.
And they said, well,
that's the basic summation.
We're going to strike down the essence of the law. They weren't saying, well, and their decision wasn't, let's not allow it anywhere. That wasn't part of their choice there. They
No.
The law said, we give these 4 states exemption. They said, we'll strike down the law. Therefore, there's no exemption. There's no special exemption. Therefore, everybody's allowed. So
no. Yeah,
I think
that wasn't
that's something that court. Yeah. Right. So we have to understand is that the court, a conservative court, as it is, wasn't going against the conservative strains. They were saying, they were looking at the essence of the law and the Constitution, and they said, here's our decision. I think that they probably made the right thing. It's up to Congress now to do something at the federal level if they so choose. They probably won't. They're probably not going to touch this.
No.
Right? But it would be their purview then to say, okay, we're going to illegalize sports gambling in the whole country. That's a congressional move now.
Yeah, I mean, Congress could absolutely still do that. And, that would, once again, probably be challenged in court. But that would, as you said, that would be Congress's prerogative to do. I think at this point, what probably Adam Silver and the NBA, the rest of the professional sports leagues would prefer to see over that, even though they just argued to the contrary in court back in December when the oral arguments for this case were had before the court.
Some hypocrisy.
Yeah.
There'd be some hypocrisy there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like don't allow this, but now that you have, let's let the federal government take control of it. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah. Well, the NBA and the MLB were, part 2 of the plaintiffs. So in December, while they were arguing to the Supreme Court of why this hurts their business and why PASPA should stay in place, they were also lobbying members of the legislature in Pennsylvania and Mississippi to be cut into the revenue. These things were going on simultaneously. They were doing these things. Let's say the NBA, Adam Silver has been, you're right, he's been the biggest vocal proponent among the commissioners of the Big Four. of this. And I think it's because they saw the writing on the wall. And but not only that they see an opportunity for revenue. And through getting the integrity or rights fee, or whatever you want to call it, codified into the language of these bills. And that's one of the two areas where I can see, to some degree, some of what Mark Cuban talked about as far as franchise value going up, is because if the leagues are successful in getting a cut of this revenue in a lot of the states where this is going to be enacted, that obviously buoys franchise values. The other way that I think that this could possibly buoy franchise values is if you get a lot of people gravitating towards these legal channels, or a lot of new people involved in the new legal sports betting, that's going to buoy TV and online streaming ratings for these games. And what that results in is more money in the broadcast contracts, which also buoys franchise values. So those are two ways that I can see this potentially having the effect that Cuban spoke to. Whether or not it's going to make it double, I think maybe a little bit too optimistic. But Mark Cuban likes to get himself in the news, and to do that, you use your platform to say outrageous things.
Oh, and I don't fault him for that at all. I mean, but you know, the fact though that we have fantasy leagues, which are the most fantasy leagues are money leagues. They're betting already. Nobody's
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
To start your show now, press 1. To hear important...
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
already legalized gambling. I mean, so,
yeah.
So, where's this tremendous upside?
60 seconds.
I don't see it because the fantasy side is clearly and it's a less risky form of gambling, because if you put your money on a team, like one wins, one loses. I mean, you've got a 50-50 chance at best, and against the NFL, Las Vegas odds makers, you're less than that. If you show me somebody that's making 55% against the spread, either they're very lucky or they're lying. Okay, I'm just telling you that right now because that's how this works. Fantasy leagues are different because you've got different ways of making money. It's a fun thing. So, are you going to gravitate people from fantasy leagues, which is already
10 seconds?
Legislated against? Are people going to move from fantasy leagues to going into a casino and placing a sports book bet? I don't think so. Like I said,
I
spent a lot of time in Vegas. I mean, the sports books, there's so many people in there. And most of the people in there actually are betting on horse racing, which is already legal wherever it's taking place. Right? I mean, it doesn't matter. Because if you're in, like, for instance, if you live in Arkansas, and where I do, there's an app, and if you're a resident of Arkansas, it's legal to bet online on horse races throughout the country. It's legal. It's state-sponsored. So where's the upside? Where's the huge upside to saying, well, and in Arkansas, and I'm sure that they will at some point add to that online sports betting or on games. Okay, big deal. I mean, where's the huge? I mean, I don't see a huge upside. I just see
I think
some upside.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to optimize it, though, is making it available from anywhere within those states' borders, kind of like the states who allow DFS for money.
Yeah.
You know, you can download the app and do it right on your phone, or, you know, go to the website and do it on your computer. That's definitely going to be the way to optimize it, the impact of it.
Yep.
But like you said, we're at least months in the states where the laws are already on the books, and years in the other states away from that. As we've said many times before, it's this is just really the beginning.
And think about this too, is that I'm a business person. I have an MBA and have been in business for 40 years. How much money is there really in this? I mean, they talk about the billions of dollars that are bet. Yeah, but where's the actual profit, right? Because that's a big number. Oh, $1 billion. Yeah, but the entity that is betting it is only making, 5%. Or I mean, you know what I mean? It's not you're not talking about a high margin business here. And if you're on the wrong side of the bet, right, you can lose that margin pretty quickly, right? And so
I think
I feel like, so I feel like as you just talked about, I see the states, if they already have an off-track betting system, and I know here in Arkansas we do, and I think they probably do. They probably do in New York and New Jersey. Some of the states that have horse racing. Adding this as another avenue, as another incremental piece of revenue, I see that all day long. Outside of that, as a standalone business, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, because in some of these states, Florida included, Matthew, you have casinos, there's horse racing, there's highlight. Now add a sports piece on top of that. I see that there's a synergistic effect to that, right? And some of that risk can be mitigated by the revenue you're making off the stuff that you're going to make. When you get into just saying, oh, we're not going to have sport. Let's take North Carolina, okay, where there is no gambling at all. It's outside the lottery, okay? Does it make sense for them to do this? I'm not so sure about that, because the expense of the infrastructure alone, just for sports gambling, I don't think will offset the revenue, or the revenue won't offset the cost of the infrastructure. If you already have an infrastructure, then you can add this to it, and I think it makes sense from a revenue and from a profit standpoint. But as a business person, I don't see it happening. And so my bottom line, my offshoot to this is the effects of this particular piece of legislation is not going to be as dramatic as I think as is purported, or is made out to be by some of the other sports journalistic entities. I don't agree with that. I think it's going to be piece by piece. I think it's going to be certain areas that will benefit, but I don't think it's going to be this huge impact that some people are projecting. I may be wrong, but from a business perspective, I don't see that happening in that way.
Either way, it's going to be interesting to watch.
Oh, and if given the opportunity, on my Oaklawn app, which I have on my phone, living in Arkansas, I haven't used it at all in the last year and a half, and occasionally I'll get on there and use it. If they add the sports betting aspect to it, and it's legal, I may do it. I may take my shot. I'll add another $50 to my account, and take a shot here and there. So incrementally, I think it might be something, and so I just don't think it's going to be like the double the effect that of franchises that Mark Cuban. Of course, he has a self-interest in promoting that, right? Because he wants his franchise to double in value. So that's he's not an objective observer or in this particular equation, but I don't think it has that effect. I would tend to disagree with him on that.
I see how it's going to increase the value of the franchises. I see that, how the contracts could go up. I see some monetary value in it, but doubling is huge. That's a significant difference. I mean, the Clippers sold for what, $2.4 million? So you're going to say now the Clippers are $4.8 million? It's hard to see that.
Nah. Well, they were. I mean, billion.
He
overpaid. Ballmer overpaid for that to begin with, right? I mean, so, but I don't see that happening. I mean, I think there's other factors that are going to factor into the increases in the. So to try to isolate this as a particular factor in the increase in the value of the franchise, but no, it could if they do it right. But I'm not sure how the sports leagues are going to get a cut of the action. They don't have it now. I mean, they don't have a cut of it in Nevada. Why would they expect to have a cut of it anywhere else?
Well, what they will probably do is they'll push to sell rights to use the name of the league and the players. So
their arguments for why they should be cut in that they're making are, in my opinion, pretty weak, but they're making them nonetheless. They basically revolve around. They basically revolve around that there are costs. The integrity component is that there are costs that they're going to take on as the operators of these games of monitoring their officials, their players, to make sure that these games aren't being influenced by officials, players, coaches, putting bets down on these games themselves. And because their argument, they argue because they're going to take on those costs, they deserve to be reimbursed because they are the one. Because without them, this whole sports betting thing isn't happening. And does that? My reaction is, does that make sense? Sure. Is that to some degree legitimate that there are new costs that they're going to have to take on? Yes. I don't think that I think it's wrong to say that is false. At the same time, as you said, Las Vegas has been doing this for decades. And we've seen, and there hasn't been a lot of scandals of games being severely affected by that component. And also, as we've said many times on this show, offshore gambling has been readily available this entire time to coaches, players, officials, and there hasn't been a rampant problem. And not only that, but we look at international football leagues.
Oh yeah,
in countries where this has been legal, like the UK, where this has been legal for decades, and there are safeguards in place through technology, through bet monitoring that have nothing to do with the Premier League or UEFA or the Champions League. None of those franchises are getting cut in.
Right.
But these bets are monitored. But the sports books are doing the monitoring and integrity checks themselves. The leagues have nothing to do with that.
And the NFL in particular is going to open themselves up to total hypocrisy, because they've been saying all along, right, that we're not exposed to gambling, we don't want it. And now that we have one ruling, which basically doesn't change a whole lot. I mean, it'll change the method that people bet, it won't change the fact that they are betting to a certain extent, and now they want cut in. That's a tough about face for Roger Goodell. I mean, to tell me 3 days ago you were against it and it shouldn't happen, and then it gets allowed, and now you want your cut. Boy, that's a
Well, the NBA was, like I said, the NBA and the MLB were making the two arguments at the same time in different courts, in different arenas.
Of course.
And I've always thought that the NBA itself was kind of, I guess, bold and asking for money on the lines of integrity of its games, while we have owners of NBA franchises who, on the record, admit to losing games on purpose. I was thinking, now you're going to come and ask for us to cut you in because you're worried about the integrity of your games?
Yeah. The Sixers made it to the conference semifinals this year, based primarily on tanking for 4 years and getting 3 top draft picks. I mean, that's absolutely. That's a fact. That's not even supposition.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're telling me to cut me in on a deal where lines of games are going to be set based on supposition of talent, and you've been circumventing the system. See, there's a lot of hypocrisy going on here. There's a lot of So if you've been at an NBA, if you've been at a sports game, and listen. I've been in college, and I'm an idiot, right? Because I'm betting on 18 to 22-year-olds who might just have been out the night before and whose girlfriend gave them a hard time before the game, and they had a bet. I mean, I'm an idiot for doing that, but I'm only betting $5 at a pop, and I do it pretty infrequently, and I go with my eyes wide open, right? But that's the nature of the deal. But I've got a lot of problem with I'm sure the NFL is having to, kind of figure out what they're. I haven't seen a public response yet to this from the NFL. I may have missed it. I haven't seen it.
There was a few weeks ago. The last owners meeting, they had kind of a seminar on to make sure that all the owners were up to speed on what was going on, what had happened. And basically the result of that is they were kind of on the same page as MLB, the NBA, and the PGA also has came out in support of this platform as well since. And MLB is not much better in this regard because as everybody knows.
Who the hell bets on golf? Listen, I'm a golf writer.
I don't know.
Who cares? Golf.
I don't know.
You haven't played fantasy golf? Like the daily league stuff?
Oh.
I have, and it was not very enjoyable. But anyway.
Yeah.
Once again, while MLB was arguing in court that robust legal sports gambling would hurt their business because of the risk of integrity of their primary product, which are games, obviously. They turn right around and they announce that they're moving a series of games between that features the marquee matchup in their league, which is Red Sox Yankees, to the United Kingdom, where there's been robust legalized sports betting for decades.
So
making their games, making their games available to be bet on, whilst arguing that making their games available to be bet on would hurt their business. And so what I wrote when I wrote about that is that Major League Baseball is so committed to proving that this would hurt their business, they're going to show us all by moving games over there and being like, see what happens? Listen, there was a case to be made 40 years ago, 30 years ago,
for players being influenced by gambling money, and I get that. Mm-hmm. But today, no way in hell. I mean, the money is so big. I mean, it dwarfs, what any handle is, even a Super Bowl. For one entity to be able to that makes no sense. Okay, now where I have made a statement in the past is that my concern is, especially on the DraftKings and Fantasy League deal, is my concern has been the officiating level. What if you get 10 officials to go in on a big deal, and they're paying out millions of dollars? Because these are not full-time officials. These guys are paying, whatever. That was my concern, was that, and to call DraftKings and the daily fantasy stuff not gambling, that's ridiculous. Of course it's gambling, and of course it's not skill, because you're not on the field playing. If I'm in a golf match, and I bet on myself, and if I'm playing you in a $10 Nassau on a golf match, yes, that's gambling to the extent I'm gambling on myself, but I control the outcome. You can't tell me that some 22-year-old sitting in his mother's basement is somehow some kind of analytic guru and can outthink the rest of the world and is because he doesn't control the action on the field. What if this guy gets injured? I mean, that's not a skill-based game. That's gambling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that was always my concern. Yeah. And so, but this whole subject, I like the ruling, as I said, and we'll see how it transpires. There's a lot of hyperbole around it. I think there's the truth is always somewhere in the middle. That's always my philosophy, anyway. It's somewhere between Mark Cuban saying, it's a big deal, it's a double R franchise, and the league's going, we're good, we're cool, we're fine, nothing's going to happen. It's somewhere in the middle there. It's got to have some impact. Now, whether it impacts, it should not impact what happens on the field. The field, the court, inside the lines. In fact, if anything, it'll help it because it regulates it, brings down the open.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, what do you think? What do you think? Within 5 years, 20 states? Maybe I'm just
I
throwing
can
a number out
definitely
there.
see that. Yeah, I can see that
So
within 5 years to at least have the language on the books. Yeah.
Right. So if that happens, you now have even more analytics to be able to determine if some betting patterns are dictating the outcomes of games, right? And that's a good thing.
Well, I mean, that means yes, absolutely.
Right?
We look at,
and that's a good thing.
As I said, the model over in Italy, where there's a kind of a national central hub for all the bets that are placed on a legal basis. That makes it so easy to monitor this for possible red flags over when a match may be manipulated. Because
they caught the tennis. Italy caught the tennis thing, right? Italy caught the tennis thing. There was a tennis thing. Italy caught the soccer thing, right? That's the same group that actually it was at a Spanish outfit, but one of these groups over there caught this stuff because there was so much analytics available, right? To me that's a good thing. Because gambling's happening. It's happening. We have to accept the fact that it's happening regardless of whether it's legal or not. And if it becomes legal and it's exposed and it's analyzed and regulated, you come up with these stopgap measures, right? Am I right about that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. So,
and maybe Matthew.
Yeah.
If all this happens, you might even feel safe placing a bet one day.
I maybe. My issue with placing a bet is that I don't get my money back. That's my issue. I'm kind of frugal in that way.
Well,
I will set time aside and say I will take this much money and spend on entertaining playing these games, but I don't hope to get any of it back at all. I just, I do like going in. I like playing roulette. I like playing poker. I don't mind blackjack, but I don't like the machines. I don't like them. I never win on the machines. I don't find hot machine. The most I've ever won on any sort of machine was like $32. And I got $32 and I cashed it out and I left. And I was like, yep, that's as good as it gets. And I just left. I don't know if somebody got on the machine and won more. I don't know. I didn't care because I left. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really big on it. But maybe if it was legalized and regulated, kind of like if marijuana was legalized and regulated, maybe here or there. I mean, I'll smoke a cigar, part of one, here and there, for whatever. But I don't smoke. I've never had a cigarette in my life. So, is it a thing? No, not really. But if it's something that's legalized, maybe I would. I don't know. But yeah, we'll have to take some time and let this whole process, like you said, there's a lot of hyperbole. They have to create a model for regulating, deciding if it's going to be at the federal level or at the state. And it seems like it's going to be pushed to the state level because they're trying to guard the budget. So, but thanks, Derek, for joining us tonight and breaking this down for you. I mean, we did an hour and a half on it.
No.
So, all right. So, Derek Helling, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to move on. Speaking of gambling, the NBA had their draft lottery tonight, and the jackpot winner was, not to anybody's surprise, the Phoenix Suns. I think they had 24 potential ping pong balls versus I think the next closest was like 7. So the Phoenix Suns will have the first overall pick in the 2018 NBA Draft. I'm going to go over a few others because after that, it actually got kind of exciting because everybody else was pretty close. And if, for example, if the Lakers would have fell between 2 and 5, that draft pick would have ended up going to the Celtics. But it fell below 5 to 10, so the 76ers kept it. All right, so the second overall pick will be the Sacramento Kings, followed by the Atlanta Hawks, the Memphis Grizzlies, and Mark Cuban's Mavericks, admittedly tanking to get the 5th overall pick. The Orlando Magic, who so desperately need something, will pick 6th, followed by the Chicago Bulls, and then the Cleveland Cavaliers will pick 8, with that pick via the Nets. The New York Knicks pick 9, and then, like I said, 10. Number 10's rounded out by the 76ers. Now, I'll have a full 2-round list, draft order over on the website tonight. So, it's kind of, it seems like a pretty deep draft, so it's going to be interesting. We'll get more into that as we move on. But how about, have you been watching the playoffs, Kevin?
I have. I tell you, the Celtics look awfully good. They have a deep young team. They entered last. They entered the. They exited the last off season with only 4 returning starters. Four returning players on the entire roster. And Brad Stevens has done a ridiculous job with that team. And they scorched the Cavaliers. Now, I've not watched the game tonight. I'm DVRing it, so I'm behind a little bit. But they killed the Cavaliers in Game 1. The Celtics look really good. I think they they haven't had a good success against the Cavs last year's, but that is good. The Jazz have made some strides with Quinn Snyder. I know the Rockets lost last night, Game 1 of the Warriors. That's not a good sign for the Rockets. They get, but yeah, I've watched some of the playoffs, and I love the NBA playoffs. By the way, I'm not a big NBA regular season guy, but I love the playoffs. The teams tend to step up, play differently. Same with the NHL. But right now we'll have to see. The Cavaliers, after a tumultuous season with make all these changes, somehow LeBron James just gets these guys to play. I don't know how it happens, but it's been pretty compelling. A lot of people are calling the Western Conference Finals as the NBA Finals. I disagree. I think the Celtics are really good. I think the Cavaliers can play pretty well as well. So we'll see about that. But I have been watching. I tell you that one of those picks you just mentioned, the Cavaliers' 8th pick from the Nets. That's a pretty good pick for a team that has been at the top for 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going on with LeBron after this season. He's a free agent. So does he stay? Does he go? If he stays, and they get a number 8 draft pick to go along with already a revamped lineup, who knows? It could be very interesting for LeBron James if he stays in Cleveland.
Now, I think he got a couple of good pieces in his off season or during the season with the trade. Larry Nance. I think he's somebody that will be that key sort of element moving forward. Jordan Clarkson, he's
George Hill.
He's good. George Hill, I don't know how
well.
I don't know how long he'll end up staying there. But the thing is, I think Cleveland's in a better situation without him. They don't spend any time learning how to do anything without him. He holds the ball and runs everything through himself so much that if he's not doing well, as we saw this last game, it just falls apart.
Yeah, that's bad.
Well, because he holds the ball so much, again, it doesn't give anybody else the ability to get in a flow. I mean, you got a lot of guys that can shoot there, but they're rhythm kind of guys, you know. You need to get them going. So they did a lot to clog up the lane, keep him out of the lane, force him to shoot. LeBron James is not a good shooter. He has never really been his whole career. He's had some clutch moments. He's hit some big shots, but overall, he's really not. He's not a phenomenal shooter. I think out of 24 shots, he had made, and the last 24 shots he had made in the finals, the NBA playoffs, I think, 16 of them, a player wasn't even within 4 feet. So it's not like news to the league that LeBron's not really a skilled shooter. What they don't want him doing is getting into the lane. So that's why, you see the defender about a foot, about 3 feet, a step outside the three-point line. They'll guard him there, and they'll double to the lane and then push him to pass. But the problem is he wants to control so much, he's not giving anybody else an opportunity. And I think because they're so well coached, the Celtics definitely have an opportunity to win. And you know what? And if LeBron loses here, that's just more reason for him to leave. That's more leverage for him. Actually, losing here is better for LeBron's leverage. So, I think I could definitely see the Celtics winning. Now, out west, I don't think the Houston Rockets have a prayer in the world. They've been all season. People keep saying they're a 3-point team. No, they're not a 3-point. They're an ISO team. They're an ISO and drive team. And when you go up against guys that are, as good or, in the Warriors' case, better talent than they are, you can't ISO and drive on them all day. They're just too good, They have two. And you can't play zone. You can't play zone because they have too many good shooters. Everybody in the lineup that runs through the Warriors lineup can shoot something. So you can't run a zone, and they're not skilled enough or talented enough at defense to be able to play help. So, and the size is also more on the favor of the Warriors as well. So, that being said, it's really I could see the Warriors winning in 5. So it stinks for Houston.
I don't think the Rockets are tough, and the Rockets aren't a really tough team. They're not built for the playoffs, and the Warriors' experience is, they've been there. This is their 4th year, and Durant, Thompson, Curry, Green. I don't see James Harden being able to weather that storm. And they lost last night, and it wasn't even close. And so, and that's in Houston. I agree with you. I see the Warriors in 5, maybe 6. I want to say I could see a Warriors-Celtics final, but until LeBron James doesn't show up in the final, and he's been there 7 years in a row, I can't go there yet, right? I just can't go there until he doesn't show up because he's been there forever.
Yeah.
He somehow wills his team in there. It just happens. And Brad Stevens, probably the best young coach in the league. He did not get one vote for Coach of the Year. I can kind of understand that a little bit, but it's hard to believe. But for my money, he's the best coach in the league, the most valuable coach anyway. Mike D'Antoni's good down in Houston, but they tooled that roster from the beginning, from the off season. The Celtics kind of, and Danny Ainge does a great job. I love Danny Ainge too, but we just have to see. So, but right now, Celtics Warriors is probably likely, and but if that happens, I agree with you. Wow, that really changes things in Cleveland. I think LeBron James goes somewhere.
Yeah, it's
you see LeBron in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I don't. They're too young. It's too young of a team. It's just they have not at any. I mean, for a decade, picking like second, third, or first, you're gonna get some people. But that's the thing is, and I echo something that I heard Vince Carter say. It scares me when teams in the league are too young and they don't have enough veterans there because the teams just aren't. They don't have the wherewithal to make it through the finals. You know, the regular season's whatever. You can call it what you want, have fun with it. But the playoffs is it's a man's game.
They're not used to playing that. Right, and they're not used to playing that many minutes either. So
yeah,
you look at you even just take the Sixers this year. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. They actually played a pretty good Game 5 against the Celtics. I mean, they had that game that was winnable for them, and they just wilted down the stretch. I think a lot of it had to do with how much wear and tear they had on their bodies for the whole season. As young players, they just not used to playing that those kind of minutes. They're not in shape yet, and I think that showed in Game 5 when they actually had a chance to make that a 3-2 series and go back to Philadelphia. But they just couldn't get it done. I mean, I think they had an 8-point lead with 6 minutes left in the game or something like that, and they just couldn't finish it. I think that's to your point. They just didn't have the stamina to stay with that. But the Celtics are a pretty young team too. But they're deeper. They're way deeper. They're also bigger, stronger, deeper. The Celtics are.
Al Horford.
The Warriors,
Al Horford's been a beast. He's been a beast.
Horford's been around forever.
Yeah.
He's been around forever. Tatum's terrific.
Marcus Morris.
Baines in the middle is. Yes, that's just a deep, tough lineup. And so I think I wouldn't count the Celtics out even against the Warriors just because of style of play. It reminds me of the team that the Cleveland team that beat the Warriors, in the second year that trifecta.
They got Greg Monroe coming off the bench. He was an all-star in Detroit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it was I just disagree that the Rockets Warriors is the de facto championship because you just never know until you get the championship. I agree that the winner of that would be favored, particularly if it's the Warriors. I mean, but even if Cleveland somehow finds a way to get to the finals, anytime you have LeBron James, I'm not sure how you can count them out. I mean, that's my opinion. It's the guy's won 3 titles, been to 7 consecutive NBA finals. That speaks for itself. I know those numbers aren't. Well,
I don't want to play spoiler for you.
Jordan went 6.
But the game is final. The game's over for tonight. Game 2.
Well, I know it is.
It's over.
Oh, I know. I'm sure it is. But I'm not. Don't play spoiler because I still have to watch it. But
I know you're like Jerry Seinfeld taping the Mets game. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. You know what? You remember that episode?
Well, I'm gonna have to bail here, my man.
So.
Yes. I do.
All right. Well, I'll give everybody the update once you bail.
I'm gonna have to bail out on you here. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Kevin Crest, ladies and
I will
gentlemen.
talk to you next week. We'll be in touch in the meantime. So
sounds good. Man. All right. So that game is final, and it looks like it was a pretty good game. And LeBron showed up big. But to the point I've been making, he can't do it on his own. LeBron put up 42 points. He had 12 assists, 10 rebounds, 9 of them on the defense. Clearly, he's not getting his rebounds on the offense. Thus, could be part of the problem. Now, offensive rebounds, so off misses. Off misses, okay? They got 8. They got out-rebounded by 3 on the offensive boards. And they won on the defensive end, the rebounding. But a big part of the problem, like I said, is the turnovers. The defense that they have there, they're forcing, because LeBron wants everything to go through him. He wants everything to go through him. That's why you saw him with 42. He felt he could just take the team on his back. He had 42 points. Kevin Love had 22. Tristan Thompson, the new father, had 8. George Hill had 3. J.R. Smith had none. Larry Nance had none. He only played 11 minutes. Green put in 28 minutes. Only got 6 points to show for it. You look at the number of shots. He took 5 shots, got 6 points. J.R. Smith took 7 shots from field goal. He took 11 shots altogether. Got no points. Hill took 6 shots and hit 1, and then hit a free throw. Tristan Thompson, 6 shots, 8 points. Kevin Love took 24 shots all night, not including free throws, 22 points. LeBron James took 40 shots and got 42 points. 40 shots. As I said, LeBron James is not a superior shooter. He was 5 for 11 from 3, and he was 16 for 16 out of 26 from field goal range. But again, this is a lot of those field goals they're not pull-up jump shots, you know? Those are, a lot of it's taken it to the rim. Yeah, it's 55% shooting. That's good. That's not great. 42 points. But here's the thing. Because he takes up so much time in that, he also ends up committing 6 turnovers. 6 turnovers. Green committed 5. That's 11 turnovers. The Celtics only turned the ball over 5 times. 2 of them were from a rookie. One was from a second-year guy, and Terry Rozier. And then Jaylen Brown. Another guy. Young guy. There you go. There's 5. That's it. That's their 5 turnovers. Brown put up 23. Rozier, 18. Tatum, 11. Horford, 15. Morris, 12. The biggest boom off the bench was Marcus Smart with 11. And then you have Aaron Baines putting up 9. And Greg Monroe had put up 4. I mean, they were steady on the boards, though. Baines got 6. Pulling 6 boards off the bench. Harford had 10. Ended up with a double-double. Morris pulled in 5 boards. Brown pulled in 7. Rozier pulled in 5. So you have guys, everybody's rebounding. Everybody's rebounding. And then you go over to the assists. Look at the assists. 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. Everybody's passing the ball. Steals. 0, 2, 1, 0, 1. Marcus Smart have 4 steals. I mean, just look at that. Al Horford had 2 blocks. You know? So when you win, when you are minus 10 in the turnover battle, I mean, you're that's good. Or plus 10 in the turnover battle. You know, you're winning by 10 points in the turnover battle. That's 20 points that you took away from them. And ironically, they win by 23. So those turnovers, that's 20 points. And then 3. If the Cavs convert those into scoring, they lose by 3 points still. You know? You can't, I mean, 6 turnovers from LeBron. That's 12 points. That's 12 of 20 points. Right there. Green. Jeff Green. 5. Between those 2 guys, if they don't commit those turnovers, maybe that's the ball game. Maybe they win. You know, Celtics are too fundamentally sound. Too good on defense. They're too well coached. You know, they do have young guys. But he excels with young guys. So, again, like I was saying, these series could both be sweeps or they both could be very interesting. And honestly, it's more advantageous for LeBron to not make it to the finals and take an extra month of rest than push it. Because he's going to make more money in the long run. He'll be in a better position to win multiple titles. And honestly, I think it's more advantageous for his legacy if he could go to 3 different cities and win titles. Nobody's ever done that. Nobody's went to 3 cities and won 3 titles. So, just to show you can. Why not? Why not do it with the Lakers? Anyways, but that's going to do it for tonight's show. Thank you all for listening in. For those of you that stayed in there, I know we had quite a few technical difficulties. I apologize for that. But you'll have some more stuff up on the site tomorrow, by tomorrow afternoon. So check it out there. head on over to Spreaker.com. Make sure that you follow us there, as well as on social media at the CHT on sports.com. And you can follow me at Matt Long Sports. But that's all I got for y'all tonight. Be safe. Be kind. I'm out.